presentation worked a little bit better than the last time. So here we are, magazine layout. All right, and hopefully you just completed and watched the video on what is typography, the presentation, and you did your anatomy of type activity that I handed out to you guys. Nothing big, nothing crazy there. Okay. Number two is how to choose a font. All right, now this is one that could really be crazy. So what Mr. Nagel and I did was we decided to come up with kind of like a formula to help you guys, just sort of a base. And so again, if we scroll all the way down to our files that we need, I'm going to click on my typography folder this time. All right, and here is my choosing a font presentation. Okay, and I'm going to open that up. And inside here, all right, and again, hopefully I'm going to turn this on present. We'll see if it freaks out again. All right, you guys will see the presentation. So choosing a font. All right. What is your goal? The first thing you have to do in order to choose a typeface is form a strong impression in your mind about what you want your audience to react, how you want your audience to react to the text. Okay. This is your goal, and it will guide the process. Your choice of typeface needs to strike a good combination of both legibility, all right, and remember, legibility is the actual typeface, how it looks, right, and readability, which is the combination of size, color, and layout, while remaining appropriate for the audience and the message. Each of these characteristics requires some degree of independent consideration. As you may already know from experience, it's easy to go about this the wrong way and get overwhelmed. I think some of you dealt with that when we started playing a little bit with some of those assignments last year. This problem can be compounded as the design evolves. So this is one of those things when you open up your computer and you look at it and you see 3,200 fonts, and all of a sudden your head just wants to explode. And some look very similar, okay? You've got Helvetica, you've got Champagne and Limousines, you've got Caviar Dreams, who are all very, very similar. Okay, so it's like, well, how do you choose it? All right, and again, we try to make this easy for you, and it's not working again. Man, what a pain. All right, let me just go this way again. Okay, all right, what is your goal? All right, so legibility, we talked about this. Okay, it refers to the design of the typeface with the strokes, whether or not it has serifs, the presence of novel type design elements. It's easy to tell from one letter form to another. All right, we talked about readability in the previous presentation, okay? All of these things adding up together. Appropriate, okay? What makes a font appropriate? Does it match the feel of the client? If you're working for a lawyer, and I always use the lawyer because it's just easy to think of what a lawyer represents, designing their logo, would you not choose a font like Lobster because it would not match the professional feel a lawyer is most likely trying to convey? And although it's a cool font, it doesn't fit lawyered, all right? You need to understand the message you are trying to convey for your client or project. Then you can choose the appropriate font. So the step one, this is where Mr. Nagel and I kind of broke this down. You might be watching this video, and maybe at this point I have a poster up with this on here, but chances are, if you're beginning of the first year in the new building, you haven't seen that poster yet. So decide on a theme, and we've broken it down. Formal, modern, industrial, relaxed, and decorative, okay? So how do you choose a theme? Font themes are influenced by what is happening in popular culture. They also need to be appropriate to the client. You're going to hear that a lot. All right? You will need to see what theme most accurately represents the who and what your client is. So we're going to talk about the formal theme. Typefaces and fonts that fit under this particular theme are clean and have a high level of readability and legibility. They can be used in both heading and body copy. And on the bottom here, these three little tags will tell you that they have script, sans serif, and serif fonts that fall under formal. Okay, so on the right-hand side, just some examples. Times New Roman Bold, Helvetica, Helvetica Bold, Optima, Optima Bold, and then Shelley. And you can see where Shelley is a script font, okay, but definitely a more formal font. Right? Modern. Typefaces and fonts that fit under this particular theme are clean and with lots of open space. They will fit most general application. This makes this style one of the most popular themes used. Now, you can look at formal and look at modern. They're very similar. So you can have a modern font that would definitely work for formal, okay? And there are some formal fonts that work as modern fonts, right? There's a lot of overlap here. And so in terms of modern, you have sans serif and serif. You don't have script, all right? Because most scripted fonts look much more old-fashioned. So you've got Bougon, you've got Century Gothic, and Baker Signet, okay? And so those are very basic modern typefaces. Again, if you look at them, very open, okay? A lot of open space in the letters. Very clean. Right? And that's kind of when you look at a modern typeface, you can kind of get that feel from them. All right. Industrial typefaces and fonts that fit under this particular theme are blocked in shape. These are pretty obvious ones. All right. Usually with sharp angles and corners, these fonts feel and look very heavy. And again, no script here. Okay, sans serif and serif. All right, and we talked about it. Sans serif, okay, does not have feet. Okay, and serif has feet. All right. So you can look at these, Aiken bold. All right. You can see them in all caps as well. Arial black and folio. All right. These are very heavy, very blocky, very much something you would use, if you were working at a steel mill or an industrial complex or something that you have these big bold fonts. All right. Relaxed. Typefaces and fonts that fit under this particular theme are just as the title says, very relaxed. Lots of movement within the thick and thins of the characters, possibly uneven kerning. Some may even have very slightly hint of almost being hand-drawn. Again, this one you have sans serif, serif, and script. So these are fonts that are really fun to use. They're great. You can find tons of them, but generally don't work in body copy. Okay, but you could pair a relaxed font with a formal or a modern font, all right, and have the relaxed font be the header and have the formal or the modern be the body copy. But something like Moonflower, which is a really cool font, almost has a handwritten feel. You can see the kerning kind of uneven. That would be great, maybe for a sentence. I'm not even sure that far, but after that, no. Okay, so Supernatural, Chocolate Box, Novelty, all very, very sort of relaxed, basic fonts. Okay, and so that's what relaxed are. They are exactly what they say. Now, the difference between relaxed and decorative is decorative goes crazy. So typefaces and fonts that fit under this particular theme are just that, decorative. These fonts can only be used in small amounts. Although they can almost be artwork on their own, this makes them have low readability and low legibility. Many of these fonts have no other versions. Some only come in all caps or lowercase. Some don't have numbers. Some don't have exclamation points. They just have these fonts. And they're beautiful. They could be art on their own. Okay. And again, these are serif, sans serif, and script. So relaxed is kind of like taking a break a little bit with certain rules, whereas decorative just goes completely crazy, where each one could be, its own little piece. All right. And you can see where, in a decorative form, you can only use it in small amounts. Think of when you guys did your alphabet designs. Okay. Those were decorative fonts, basically. Where it's very, very sort of crazy and out there, and they're beautiful, but really can't use them that much, okay? So Bad Cab, ITC Bee's Knees, Neon Lights, which is really cool, and Watermelon Script that I like a lot, but those squiggles really at the end just make it very difficult to do anything with. All right, so after you have decided on your theme, now you need to decide on a style. Sans serif, serif, or script, all right? And a word on type styles. The type styles you choose from is very closely tied to the theme you want to convey. So a sans serif font, okay, sans serif typeface, lacks serifs and therefore feel much cleaner, simpler, and more modern on the page. Sans serif fonts are easier to read on a computer because the square nature of a pixel makes the subtle curves on a serif type harder to render. Now, obviously, as we get going with these 5K screens, that's a little bit different, but it still has a pixel. It's still based on a square. And so anything with square ends is going to be easier with a square pixel to create. Think about that, all right? And so Arial, Helvetica, Calibri, and Gavin are all fonts that are sans serif fonts, okay? I tend to lean towards sans serif. I find them to be cleaner, but that's a personal preference more so than anything else. Serif fonts. Serif typefaces have small projecting features at the end of a stroke. Added as embellishment to the basic form of the character, in practice, serif typefaces feel timeless, elegant, trustworthy, and retro. So this is how all fonts had serifs on them when it first started. So Times New Roman, very basic, used all over the place. Baskerville, which is very similar to Times New Roman, but if you look at the A's, you'll see some differences in the A's. Okay, and then Bellevue, which is very sort of old-fashioned. All right, so those are your three differences there. Script and cursive. Script or cursive fonts are designed to mirror handwriting. The difference between a script and a cursive is very simple. Script letters are connected to each other, okay, within each word. Cursive letters are not connected. Again, script letters are connected, okay, to each other within the word, whereas cursive letters are not connected. This fancy form of letters tends to rather feminine feel and does not work well for small size typography. Generally, they'll tell you anything that's script or cursive, you won't want to go below 8 point. Use these fonts sparingly at large sizes for the greatest effect. Black Sword's really cool. All right, Signature of the Ancient. So Signature of the Ancient is a script Whereas, Blacksword is cursive because they're not all connected. Some of them are connected, but not all of them are connected. Okay, whereas Signature of the Ancient, they're all connected. And Linoscript, they're all connected. All right, so those are scripts and cursives. So this last step is to choose your typeface. So you've gone through the file where you've chosen a theme. All right. So we'll go back here for a second. So you go through. First step is to decide on your theme. So you've chosen modern. The next is to decide on a style. So you've chosen a modern sans serif. And the last part is to choose your typeface. All right. Think about it. Once you have chosen an appropriate theme and a style that works for your client or project, the next step is choosing the typeface that you'll be using. You need to decide what typeface will be appropriate for your project. Is it a professional event or company? That it will be a sans serif that is very clean, such as Arial. Is it more fun and loose? Then maybe you want a sans serif font that has a bit more character to it, such as Montserrat Alternatives. That's the last step. So once you've narrowed it down to what you're thinking, now you've got to go through, okay, so I got to look at modern sans serif fonts. All right, and what's great is in Illustrator, you can narrow it down to sans serif fonts, and you can start to look at what you want for modern, okay? And again, when you're looking at your fonts, if you've chosen a theme, okay, and your theme is modern, you're looking for things that are clean with lots of open space, all right? So hopefully this helps, all right, the process. So I've got a little activity for you, all right? And if you, in your typography piece, you've got a font questionnaire and activity. So if you download this, okay, to your desktop on your computer, okay, you're going to double click on it, all right? And it says right here, you have been hired by a clothing designer. They are looking for a logo design. They mostly design for people 18 to 30. They sell in most popular clothing department stores. Their clothes are clean, simple, and can be worn to work as well as out for a nice dinner. They would like the logo to represent those elements of their clothing line. They would like to see some font options from you. So you're going to go through the steps. How are you going to choose the font? What theme is most appropriate? You're going to check it off. You're going to explain why. What styles of font would you think would match? You click why. And what are 3 font options? You're going to go through your computer, whether it's Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, wherever, probably easiest in Illustrator, and type out a couple of words, hello, how are you, whatever you want to type, and then start looking at fonts and give 3 options and then explain why, okay? When you're done with this, you can save it, all right, and then you can hand it into Google Classroom in the spot that's there for it, okay? So go through that presentation if you need to. It's there for you, all right? You have the presentation, you have the video, all right, and you have the font questionnaire activity, all right? Good luck.